Mark, do we have our legal representation, or is that?
Not yet. I was just alerting everyone that we're already on. So watch your language.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Larry is joining. I just got an earful that it's not 9 o'clock yet.
All right. Tell him we're already live streaming, so tell him to be cautious. He has a way of making a grand entrance.
He's rested up, so I think he's fired up today. He got that second COVID shot and knocked him out yesterday.
Morris, are you going to be able to share the agenda?
Yeah, I can. I'll probably, let me turn my video off just so I don't have issues. So, and then I can share the, share that.
No one minds if the video is off.
Very good. We are on channel 7 now. So we're live streaming. So sound quality is better. Okay, we've still got microphone problems there. So if everyone would turn off your microphone if you're not speaking, that would be great. And we'll get the meeting started. So welcome everyone. This is the meeting of the Independence Event Center Community Improvement District. I'd like to begin by taking a roll call of directors present. So Eric Erfer.
Here.
Brian Kidney.
Here.
And Mark Randall, I'm here as well. So we have a quorum to conduct business from the CID. Other folks present on this call, if we could perhaps identify yourself around the horn there.
Laura Lashley from Development Dynamics is here with Charlotte Dixon, who is also from Development Dynamics.
Thank you.
Rick McConnell's on.
Thanks, Rick. Morris, I believe you're on there.
Yeah, Morris Heidi, City of Independence.
Very good. Joe?
Joe Kurtzman, Cable Down Marina.
Larry?
Yeah, Larry Hovick. Hi, good morning.
Very good. Anyone else that we haven't identified on the call? Very good. Well, thank you all for being here this morning. We really appreciate this. And as mentioned, thanks to Tamara Bennetson. She's the one that has hosted this for us, and Steve Wagner with the city communications team that has this meeting live streaming right now on Channel 7. So anyway, thanks to everyone who's attending virtually this meeting, and we'll get to business. The first item we have today is on old business. We have the approval of the minutes from the meeting of November 23rd, 2020. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve the minutes. Mark.
Second.
Is there it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right, next item on there is new business, which is the election of the chair and appointments of officers and agents for the CID. So we have a slate that has been provided to you, which you have there on your agenda. If there's any other nominations, or if we will have a nomination for this slate.
Morris, can you scroll down a little bit so that we can see the rest of that?
Well, it's on the bottom of one page and the top of the next, so I can flip back and forth, but so this is the bottom.
Just want to make sure Brian's on there.
Yes, he is. So the slate of officers that are on this, the slate that went out in the packets, it says Mark Randall, Chair, Eric Erfer, Vice Chair, Brian Kidney, Secretary Treasurer, and Eric Erfer also serving as Executive Director. So if that if I would entertain any motions or any other nominations.
Yeah, I move to accept this slate of officers and chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. The next item of business is presentation and acceptance of the district's audited financials for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2020. Brian, are you kicking that off?
Yeah, I sure can. I would say, you know, you all received the audit within the your packet. Morris, if you're still controlling, if you want to just flip down to.
Sure. Let me get to. Let's see. Is this the start of that?
Yeah, it's right there. It's
okay.
Several pages down. You know, the first page or so is the independent auditor's report, and that's where the auditor would give assurance in his opinion that the statements appear correct in all material amounts. It's an unqualified opinion, which basically means that it's a good opinion that the financials that are presented are free of any misstatements, that they were able to, they have no reason to believe that there's any misstatements in it. And so, yeah, just flip down then. And this shows us the current statement of net position, which is basically the value of the Event Center Community Improvement District at the $7 million, or I'm sorry, $6.5 million in current cash at the end of June 30th. If you flip down another page, and basically then goes into the operations of the CID, which obviously the biggest portion of the expenses are the debt service for outstanding debt on the event. The additional amount is predominantly the amount of administrative fees that are charged then to the CID for management and oversight of the CID by the city. And I guess the only other major area on this, if you could flip down a couple pages to the notes, I think it's important just to remind the board the outstanding debt. So it's a couple more pages. I'm sorry, I should have given you page numbers. Yeah, there we go. And so, yeah, page 12 then basically shows you the outstanding debt of the Event Center and CID responsibilities. So of note, and we've brought this to the board before, that there is at least one bond issue, the 2011A. This is not part of the audit, but just keep in mind that $10.8 million that is eligible for refinancing right now. And then we're also looking at the 2012 Cs as an advance refunding. The call date hasn't occurred yet, but we could do an advance refunding of that. And that's action that I believe Eric and I are going to be bringing back to the board at a later date. Is there any questions specific to the financials?
Very good. Brian, do we need a motion, or Rick, to accept these?
I don't know, Rick. What's the protocol on that? I'm not sure. They are what they are.
Yeah, no, I sort of agree. I mean, I think if you wanted to make a motion to accept it, I think that'd be relatively consistent with what the city does, and you know, they are fairly straightforward. But we're not going to change them, as Brian said. So I think accepting them would be appropriate, but nothing particularly formal beyond that.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll entertain a motion to accept the audited financials for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2020. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Sure.
Well, I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, now the next item of new business that we have is the a resolution. I'll just go ahead and read it. It says Resolution of Independence Event Center Community Improvement District to establish a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain district officials and officers and authorizing certain actions in connection therewith. Rick, you want to take it away?
Sure. This is just something that we do periodically pursuant to state statute. And so Laura Lashley with Development Dynamics, who I know all of you have talked to, but it's probably been a while. They administer a number of districts across the state. So I've enlisted her help in doing some of these administrative tasks for the district. They do it a lot and frankly do it cheaper and better than I do. So I think it's a benefit to the district. So I might let her explain this as she does to her boards across the state.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, basically this allows for the board to file the short form with the Missouri Ethics Commission as opposed to the long form, which is much more arduous. Chances are a lot of you are already filing those forms, but it's something that needs to be adopted every other year. So every 2 years you would see this resolution presented before you. And it really is just to allow for the short form to be filed. And it really has to be filed by the chairman and anyone who signs on the bank account for the district.
So I guess from that perspective, this district is somewhat unique in that it, in essence, turns all of its money over to the city for administration, and the city's auditor does the audit. So I don't know that in truth, Brian, I don't know that the CID necessarily has its own, bank account per se. Everything's just controlled at the city level. So that's a little bit of a unique aspect of this district, I think.
Yeah, I think this just allows when the Missouri Ethics Commission puts forth an email to the board members to file their forms, at least this way it will be the short form as opposed to the long form.
Right. Okay.
Very good. So we will, this being a resolution, we'll entertain a motion for the adoption of this resolution. A second. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to accept that.
Oh,
Or
okay.
I'll second it.
I hear a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed? Very good. Thank you. The motion passes. Next item on the agenda is another resolution. I'll read this one as well. A resolution of the Independence Event Center Community Improvement District confirming and approving the procurement of certain insurance coverages and authorizing certain actions in connection therewith. Rick, is this yours as well?
Well, sort of. So just out of the blue, I got an email from an agent that essentially said that this policy had already been renewed, and so sent it on to Eric. And in all candor, I don't know that much about it other than they said look, it's already in place. We just need to get this signed at some point. I think part of the thing that I wanted to confirm as part of all this is that this is, what the city wanted to do, and that it's, consistent with the city's overall insurance program, et cetera, et cetera. But other than that, it seemed, pretty on target.
Well, I might ask Brian to weigh in as he's in charge of risk management for the city, and Eric, you may also have a thought on that.
Yeah, I guess I would say I was under the impression that we're, we've moved all of our risk management under working with Lockton.
Okay.
And I know we have a policy, and I can't remember where we are with that policy with travelers on the same coverage. So, Eric, do you recall? I know that I'm looking for some correspondence. I know there was some correspondence on this issue.
Yeah, as I recall, we sometime last year we actually approved that particular policy, but we may have some duplication going on now as we've switched over, as you just mentioned. So I'm not sure what the term of this particular one is. I know we just heard that it isn't actually signed, so it's not fully executed, but I'm not sure what the term is.
Yeah, I would say I'm just pulling up some previous correspondence. Then yeah, we do already have a policy in place. It appears with travelers that we entered into. Looks like back in December of 2020.
Okay.
Maybe it's one of those things that we changed but didn't notify the other agents that this has changed.
Well, I think this would be the time to do it. It says it's effective as of February 15th of this year. So let me just send something back that said the city's moved their coverage to travelers, and thank you very much. And hopefully that'll be that.
Yeah, and Rick, I'll forward you I'll forward the board, everyone, just make sure everyone has this in front of them, the current policy that we have in place.
Okay.
Well, very good. So thanks for getting that clarified. Thanks, Rick, for letting them know. So we would therefore remove this resolution. We don't want to pass this resolution if it was for the renewal of that policy.
Correct. That's correct. And I think we could just, table it, and if we need to do something in the future, we'll pull it back off, but I don't see that happening.
All right. Well, is there a motion to amend the agenda to remove this item?
So moved.
Is there a second? Moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, the next item on it is the discussion of the budget. So, Eric, are you going to lead this discussion?
Yeah, I'll start it off and then turn it over to Morris to go through a little bit of the detail. So each year we prepare a budget for the Community Improvement District, which essentially does two things. It provides for the operations of the CID, as well as the retirement of the debt service. I guess the third thing it does also is it pays for major capital improvements as well. So there's really three components to the budget. Upon approval, we do forward this to the state. It is due to the state this month. We are on track to do that. And then, of course, forward it to the city as well as inclusion in their overall budget package as well. So with that said, Morris, if you want to walk us through a little bit the projection of this fiscal year, so where we look to end this fiscal year, and then run us through the line items associated with next, if you would, please.
Sure. First thing I want to actually bring to your attention. So in the packet, this is the last page of the packet. If you notice, this printed date is February 25th. This is actually not the latest final version. It actually should be dated March 4th. So there's some slight changes we made on revenue projections. So we attempted to get that sent out. Maybe that didn't get included with the packet, so apologize for that, but we will make sure this gets distributed. So I'm going to discuss the version that you see in front of you, which is actually dated March 4th. So
Morris, Mark, can I ask a question? Should we try to bring up the latest version, since that's what we're voting on and approving today?
That would be great. Do we have it available? Does anyone have it that they could put that up?
That's the one on the screen, I think.
Yeah, I've got it on the screen. Unless you can't see that, I don't know.
I'm going to have to blow mine up to see that date. I didn't see that date. So that is the March version.
Yeah, this is. Okay. I don't know if you can see at the bottom. Okay. March 4th.
Okay.
So sorry, it's small print.
Yeah, very good.
So basically what you have in front of you, so here's the 3 previous years' actual expenses and revenue, which you're familiar with seeing in previous budgets that have been discussed at the CID board. This is the current adopted year's budget. If you recall, we had adopted a budget, or the board had adopted a budget back in February of last year. That was amended in April due to the COVID situation. We had quite a bit of capital outlay that we then reduced due to COVID concerns about revenue coming in. Turned out that was somewhat unfounded because revenues continued to come in. Interest obviously has tanked, unfortunately, but so that was amended last April, and this serves as the adopted budget for this fiscal year. So with that being said, so really we're looking at this projected column. So we believe revenues are going to be slightly under what was budgeted. So 7.9 instead of 8.1. Interest is going to be quite a bit lower than had originally been anticipated or budgeted at 128,000. We're looking at about 21,000, so quite a reduction there just due to interest rates being low. Here on these expenditures, I won't go through all these. These are pretty straightforward, but insurance, accounting, legal, auditing, etc. You know, pretty close to what had been budgeted. A few slight increases. Let's see here. Make sure I got the right lines here. Contract services, we haven't spent anything to date, but we're projecting 50. We just want to keep that open in case something happens. Capital outlay, this was 75,000. It was for one project, and I'll talk about that in a second. That was for the building management system. And we've had some emergency repairs that we may have to add to that. So we kind of increased that number as far as the projection. This line item here is the contract amendment that took place last November 23rd. The loss for the Spectator agreement up to a $300,000. And so then down here you have the EATS and debt service payments. We always reserve an extra payment just to make sure we have that available for the next fiscal year. And then you see the projected ending unrestricted fund balance there at the bottom. So that's projected for this year, and then proposed for next year. Since we didn't spend a whole lot on capital projects, our beginning fund balance is projected to be quite a bit higher. Those funds just roll over. Again, revenue, we're thinking it's going to be somewhat on track with what we were thinking for adopted this year. Let's see here, make sure, yep. And let's see, so again, straightforward on the accounting and different expenses, debt service payment, et cetera, and then an ending balance at this point. So any questions on any of that? And I'll talk about capital outlay. I have two reports to show, one for this year and then one for next year's requested, which will talk about this $3.1 million amount.
Yeah, just to note that I think obviously by looking at the sheet, the funds are doing well. We're fortunate, as Morris said, not to see a very large dip in our tax revenues associated with the CID. So we are in a very good position, so much so that we can bring a lot of that capital forward into next fiscal year's proposal that we deferred from the fiscal year, plus a couple of other projects that have come up and needed as a course of operations from this fiscal year. So before we adopt the budget, I think it would be appropriate, Morris, if you could go through the list of capital projects for the 3.1.
Yeah.
That we have, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I'll talk about those and then I'll jump back to this current fiscal year. So these are the proposed projects for next fiscal year. Let me blow this up a little bit here.
Yeah, if you would, that'd be great.
Is that better? Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, again, a lot of these projects you saw right out a year ago. We had anticipated doing these this current fiscal year, but then due to COVID, we backed off quite a bit of the projects. So And then some of these are items that we had planned on doing based on our capital improvement plan, which was discussed in previous meetings. So just run through these real quick. So ribbon board replacement. So this is the ribbon board. If you recall, we did the video board replacement a year or two ago, but this is the ribbon board associated with that. This is about, goodness, 12 years old now, I want to say 11, 12 years old. So needs to be replaced for $700,000. Parking lot resurfacing. So this is entails resurfacing the entire 3 main parking lots. There's pretty large surface area there at the arena. So 1.1 million. Insulated floor. So this is a full replacement of the insulated floor that they put down on the ice for 140,000. Architecture and engineering conceptual design feasibility study. So this is some funds to start discussions and some scoping and cost estimates for expansion of the community ice area. Security system upgrades, we've got $80,000 plugged in for that. So some security improvements for the building. Ice chiller compressor rebuilds. This is something that has to take place every few years. It's just kind of standard maintenance. So we've got $25,000 in for that. Box office additional door. This will be adding an additional walk-through door so folks can access the box office easier than, I think currently there's just the one main door into that area. LED lighting upgrades. So this would be interior and exterior upgrades. This kind of completes the, I think this will be the 3rd phase of LED lighting improvements. We've tried to make those improvements to reduce electricity costs and be a greener facility. Spectator net rigging. So this is the netting that protects fans and spectators from the hockey, the pucks and things flying around. Did I say that right, Eric?
Yeah, I was going to help you out there, but you probably
okay, sorry. Flooring replacement. So this is basically the suite level and the President's Club, replacing all the flooring. Again, that's original flooring in those areas. So looking at about $200,000 for that. Locker room partitions, those are seeing some age and because of use. So that would be replacing those for about $50,000. Also looking at replacing the suite refrigerators. Again, those are original to the building. There's 30 of those. So we've got $15,000 to replace those. Also the kitchen, and again, this is kind of, I sound repetitive here, but a lot of these items are just original installations and they've kind of reached the end of their life. So the same with the kitchen grill, that just needs to be replaced. It's reached the end of its usable life. Same with the popcorn machine, replacing that gets a lot of use. Stand-up cooler, freezer replacements, so replacing 6 of those for $30,000. Ice machine replacement, replacing 3 of those. Floor scrubber machine replacement, replacing 2 of those. Telephone workstation and computer replacement. As everybody knows, computers get outdated and need to be replaced, so that's replacing that unit. And then bar stool recovery. So that's actually reupholstering, recovering the current bar stools rather than replacing those. That should save some funds. And then we plugged in a contingency that's basically 10% just to cover any overage that we might have for a total dollar amount there. So any questions on any of those projects?
So Morris and Eric, on that contingency amount, we've had, every year there's something that comes up, during the year that may fall sort of into an emergency type category or something that can wait a little longer than that, but something that needs to be addressed. I guess, is it worth talking about, the necessity of coming back to the board, to dip into that contingency for projects that aren't listed here? I mean, my view of that generally is that if it's, of the character of these types of projects, that isn't really necessary, but that doesn't mean you don't have to do it or don't want to do it. So maybe we can just discuss that briefly about what that process would look like.
Yeah, I guess Rick, to that, I guess I would say, and when we're adopting this budget, to me, we're adopting $3.1 million in capital outlay, and that this is just a supporting document of the official budget. And I would say, you know, as long as the total is under 3.1, I really, as a board member, I have no problem with whatever, just as long as it, you know, it's a capital outlay and its totals within the 3.1 million. Is that okay? I mean, to treat it that way?
No, I think that's appropriate, and I think we've sort of erred on the other side historically, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But I think it just history has shown us that this stuff does come up, and I think that you're right. You know, if you stick at that sort of line item level, you should be fine. And you know, Eric, again, Morris, if you're not comfortable sort of whether or not something fits in that, we can certainly reconvene the group. But I think that's a good approach. I mean, it's a big facility. It is getting to that age, and something's going to break. It's not on the list.
Well, and it has, Rick. You're exactly right. I appreciate the flexibility. You know, this is the plan, and it's just that, a plan. So if we have a header below again, and we need another $50,000 to repair that, that's an emergency repair, that may bump one of these projects and defer it if we don't have enough left in the contingencies at that point to care for. So I very much appreciate that flexibility.
Good.
Yeah. This is Laura. I would also just add the other thing that I've seen you guys do this in the past is to come back with a report that basically ratifies and demonstrates, you know, what the contingency was spent on. I mean, that's kind of part of the kind of standard, you know, it's either part of the financial statements where you disclose what the contingency was spent on, or you can also do it as you're amending future budgets.
Yeah, and this is Morris. I might add that's actually what we've done in the past. If you recall, from 2 fiscal years ago, we actually had, I think it was around 2.8 million. And this report then showed the adopted, which is this column of numbers. We showed the actual expense, and then the contingency, we broke out what that was spent on. So that's what we've done in the past. So hopefully that's acceptable to the board.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and I mean, I think that's appropriate, and it just reflects the way life is. So,
what we find, I might add this as well, with all of the electronic equipment, and as everyone knows, that ages very quickly, and there's upgrades, and then the new items won't fit with the old items, and so we do our best to budget and project what those costs are going to be. But even so here it is March, by the time we get to July 1, those prices may have gone up, or now a module doesn't work with this, and you know, there's extra costs associated. So can be difficult to budget for some of these projects.
Very good. Well, I think that's a great clarification. Is there any more discussion on the budget before we move to the resolution? Any more discussion?
Mark, if I could, I'll just show that I just had one last report. So here, this is, and kind of like what I was just talking about. So here was the one approved project, so building management program. So this is the computer program that basically runs the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning in the building. So that project was approved for this fiscal year. We're about 75% complete on that. They just actually stood that program up about a week or two ago. We actually haven't seen a bill yet, but that's about all we have to report at this point. But the new system is running in the building and it's operational. So, and that's all I have on budget.
Fantastic. Thanks, Morris. Any other discussion on the budget? If not, we'll go on to the next item, which is a resolution adopting that. And I'll go ahead and read that resolution. A resolution of the Independence Event Center Community Improvement District approving the budget of the district for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2022, with instructions to forward same to the City of Independence, Missouri, in compliance with the Community Improvement District Act and authorizing certain actions in connection therewith. And we would entertain a motion for approval of that to pass. I would entertain a motion for the adoption of that resolution.
Move to approve, please.
Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
We moved to second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Motion is passed. Resolution is passed. Okay, the next item on our agenda is public comments and new business. So is there anyone that has, I'm sure Larry has a comment or two for us, but are there any comments to be brought up at this time?
I'd just like the minutes to reflect that we had no one sign up to speak or provide comment.
Very good. Any other discussion of any item from board? Anything else to deal with here? I did want to say that kudos to Eric and Morris and your staff and everybody, Larry, everybody involved with and Joe, everybody involved. It really seems like the event center is really looking great and is very well poised to for doing great business when we're all past this COVID era. I love these improvements that we're making, and it just seems like it's a really exciting, wonderful facility. And I don't know, it just seems like it's very, very exciting to be part of.
Well, I tell you what, Mark, it makes it very nice, wonderful, all of the above to showcase when people come in who are potentially interested in hosting their event here, that we still have that wow factor with everything that we've done and what we continue to do. So we really appreciate the investment.
Well, and it's really looking good. And I got to tell you too, on a personal note, my grandson is 7 and driving down 70 the other day, he said, "Look, the name's changed." So people notice that signage.
Yeah, and I tell you what, the exterior lighting is so visible from so far away that people really they notice that also. So yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, the lighting is spectacular. It really is. Eric, anything from you?
No, sir. Just appreciate the support. Thank you.
Very good. Is any other comments from anyone present? If not, we'll just go ahead and move to the last item on the agenda, which is a motion to adjourn. If we could entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye. And
Aye.
Aye. And we'll thank everyone for attending very much. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
I think there's something weird going on with my speaker. Now, I think this is a speaker, and why would that one not work? Or even the one that's in my computer?
I don't know.
I think I kind of need to test that.
Yes, I do. That was